Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is the opposite of differentiation? Right? That is what sensorality is. Uniformity is the opposite of differentiation. Speciality is differentiation. Sensorality is, if you are uniformity, sensorality uniformalizes. So now we're constructing our own word, right? Uniformity, formalize, uniformalizes. Look at us go. But it makes conceptual sense. Sensorality is uniformitality. Second is two, this fundamental stability of two, physical charge. And another word for two is second or secant, right? So second is two. Secondality is complete. Fundamental stability of two, second is complete. Sensorality is secondality. Sensorality is condality. Sensorality conduits. Conditionality is relative. Again, general relativity. All right, if it's conditional, it's relative. Relativity is real. Sensorality is relativality. Relativitality is what that should have been. But again, just expanding these word forms out into total generality, you can hear the base word. Sensorality is tivality. What is positioning to posing? Strike a pose, time to take a picture. Yes, ladies, slay. And we're popping out our booties, we're showing off our chests and getting the right angles. Yeah, look at me. But positioning to posing, kind of the same thing. What is sensing to censoring? All right, we're getting closer. All right, but if I sense something, I perceive it. If I censor something, I filter it. Perception to filtration. Do rings sing? And that, again, directly linguistically derived from sensing to censoring. The sing, and then the S in the ring. Or, again, do rings sing? Rings string. Soaring, S-O-R-I-N-G, so ring sings. Sing iterated by or is soaring. And so, getting to this direct iteration, what is sensorality? Showing you these letters. What is sense to censoring? Spelling is iteration. So this is another one. This one I found out in the wild. Again, all of these word forms, all of these results are independent of me. The filtration of logic and language is happening at the species level, which is a section of sentience holistically. And so conscious, like if I feel self-conscious. Okay, so this is another one, right? If I have consciousness, I have awareness. If I am self-conscious, you're referring to morality. And that's the spelling with the con science. And so the element that I found out into the wild was conscious, like, all right, I have a conscience. I want to do the right moral thing. And on a personal level, I didn't even know that was spelled differently. I thought that was self-conscious, C-O-N-C-I-O-U-S, not C-O-N-S-C-I-E-N-C-E. And so I found another element of sensorality is conscious with that spelling of, feeling morally right. I have a conscience. I'm going to do the right thing. Maybe even referenced that. I just spelled it wrong. So again, I'm just filling out a word family, and the whole filtration of this word family, sensorality, sensation, right? Everybody has senses. We're talking about the same thing, obviously. And we're just, as always, trying to find the stabilizing syllability. But that was a huge one. Conscious is science. Science produces consciousness with that spelling. Wow, that was classic. Sensorality is consciousness. I think that was probably the biggest one that I've missed, in addition to, again, calling compound words amalgamated words. But again, we're deriving the structure of language. And it's so hard, again, when people destroy your reputation in the 21st century. I don't go watch my own videos. I don't go look anything up. Sometimes I briefly Google words to spell them correctly because there's no point to be pedantic. You see the analytical process I'm doing to spell words incorrectly. I'm trying to develop intellectual property. I want the word spelled correctly, right? Once I've shown you enough of the word forms, it's entirely redundant for me to point out every little base word and expansion of that base word. You can see them very easily yourselves. And any of the ones that do have like logical nuance or just like, oh, you probably haven't thought of that, I do point out. But that was a big one that I just straight up missed. But morality is conscious, sensorality is consciousness. Sensorality is conscientiousness, right? So that connects, that makes, this is what I'm saying is torture. This is not a big step. This is because I am being removed from being able to socialize with people, and there's no point. Speciality especially with an ITY, is this whole process. Once that is done, there was no need for me to do any step ever again, ever. But you guys have taken away my rights, and it's torture, right? This derivation process on a personal, independent level, there's nothing for me to realize. The proof is so big that it creates a personal level of incompleteness, where it's like an itch you can't scratch, but that is not the right, it's kind of the right track, wrong train. It's more of like, again, your baby's dying in the pool and you're like being held back. And you're like, I can't jump in the pool and just get my kid out of the water. So it's this level of like incompleteness of being very wrong, in addition to being very wronged, that like I can't resolve on a personal level except through finishing this proof, which I don't want to be doing. I would rather be doing more of the book reports, the actually learning semantically using other languages. Granted, that is truly trivial. Assigning semantic meaning, right? Meaning is semantic. It's literally an iteration of the word meaning, semantic. You can see it. But point being is like on a personal level, Brad right here, mathematics is done for me at my level. The whole thing is completely done. I'm at a point now where it's like there's no point not to finish it, but I can't turn it off. Like it's just, I've already shown you all of the steps, so for me to do this whole axiomatic derivation again, which I already did when I was a kid, I will just email you the final fucking answer. And so I'd rather focus again, developing property, video content. Again, obviously I can't go out and actually build real business in that sense, but intellectual property is more valuable than brick and mortar shit. That's just straight up. And so I can't do more of like what I would say derivative property, like again going through vocab building and given languages is not something unique to me, but with my background and the actual pronunciation is definitely something, because I've trained my vocal cords, which is independent of my logical capacity, and so I can articulate the sounds as like a speech pathologist even more so than just a linguist or a researcher of language. And so little side track there, but not really, because this conscious with this spelling is just me not seeing a clear element of something that I'm doing and then spending months where this just normalizes stuff immediately. Fantastic. But morality is conscientiousness. Conscious is conscientiousness. Memorality remembers what is right. So now, again, we can use, right, memory, we expand that out linguistically, we get memorality, which is, again, uniformity, uniformalize, morality, memory, but if you just expand memory out to its complete form, you get memorality. So that is a well-defined conceptual thing. Memory plus morality is memorality. And memorality gives us a natural definition. You remember morality, what is right. Memory, you remember what is right. Memorality remembers what is right, and that is the fundamental theorem of sensorality. Iteration is thematic, all right? We have generalized what is mathematics well past that word into a function, right? Iterating, and we're showing that completely physically with all of our data, words, right? Words are not located anywhere. These things, these shapes that I put down are to represent the sounds coming out of my mouth. Language is physical. Self-conscious, and now that's back to spelled with a C-O-N-C-I-O-U-S-N-E-S-S, is conscious, right? Sensorality opposes juxtaposition. If you're just listening, the words that would need differentiated are spelled on the screen. But that's, again, a logical thought, right? The last episode, juxtaposing dichotomy, right? The fundamental stability of two, second is complete, two is complete. That's dichotomy. What is cotomaticality? Sensorality is cotomaticality, right? We're just normalizing with the letters. But the point being is that logically, right, how do you juxtapose dichotomy? Right? See, we're getting to a place conceptually where it's like, where there's a problem to solve. Remember, sensorality is not a word. Words already exist. I'm showing you how those words form, and we have to form this fundamental false knot to show this thing that it's not a word goes into actual words. Classic. But sensorality opposes juxtaposition, right? Opposing juxtaposition is like not allowing comparison is kind of our working definition. But again, these steps just progress naturally, logically, and linguistically. Sensorality opposes juxtaposition. Because again, it's kind of oppositional to our, right? Sensorality is, again, undifferentiation, uniformalization, doing the sameness. But we're just finding this opposition inversion within sensorality with a C, sensorality with an S. Those are our inverses, our bounds. And then speciality, this other linguistical element that was the last, again, axiomatic full conceptualization of everything. So we're finding some sort of internal differentiation within that concept linguistical structure. Infinitive, intuitive. Sensorality is intuitive. Capitulation is precipitous. Duplicitous, precipitous. Sensorality precipitates. Sensorality is pitality. Pitality pities, obviously built on it. And again, this when it goes ITI or ili, ILI, it's some sort of like reflection symmetry thingamabob. Sensorality pities. Similarity is adjacency. If you feel the same as somebody else, if that resonates with you, if that's similar, if you like that, it's adjacent to what you think. Parallel is adjacent. Sensorality is adjacent. Similarity is the opposite of differentiation. Assimilation is the opposite of differentiation. Fitting in is the opposite of sticking out. So now, again, showing this logic progress to where we use more, again, fundamental words, meaning frequency of use, but it's just like the words that are most simplistically associated to meaning. When I say the word run, it's very clear. There's like no other way to say run. And so we're getting to like the final conceptual form where it's the most efficient, and we've reduced our language, the linguistics, the letters to represent that concept to its most efficient. And so stick, fit. But this big conceptualization, what is sensorality with a C, what is sensorality with an S, what is speciality, we've normalized that logically to fitting in is the opposite of sticking out. Functionally, again, this relationship of opposition and inversion is still, right? You clearly have inverses in math class. You don't have oppositionals. But it's like, what is that relationship? Is that a meaningful question? Intuitively, it's enough for me to point out I'm not thinking. That's the whole point, is I'm not thinking this stuff through. That's not the verbiage that, again, that's spicy. That word doesn't apply to that physical process. I'm not thinking, I'm realizing. Which sounds goofy. It sounds goofy, but it's when you reach physical synchronicity, there's nothing, you don't think. Thinking is resistance. There's no resistance. Time just has to pass for enough data to, again, ask the right question. There was one other thing I wanted to say about sensorality is adjacent, parallel is adjacent, similarity is adjacency, right? Something else popped into my head that now I'm blanking on. But again, adjacency, when I say parallel is adjacent, right, that means it's like not intersecting, right? So what is differentiation to intersection, right? Differentiation is like going away from intersection. Again, it doesn't matter. Anytime that I, Brad, still, again, try to provide more logic, it doesn't matter. All of these results are independent results, again, generated by the species as a whole. And so there's literally no point for me. This is the point where you're supposed to say, oh yeah, Brad, you've already proven this stuff, not to say, ooh, oh, look at you, but we know that your proving method is legitimate. Because anytime I personally, or anybody tries to explain something, the words already contain the meaning. And so you're trying to elicit the right conceptualization, ask the right question, and experience, everyone knows when somebody says run, what to do. Or if panic starts happening, if you see a snowball coming down the mountain, everyone looks at each other, everyone starts thinking the word run literally as you just did there. And so just trying to find that elicitation from a question, and then that will define sensorality trivially, reducing all of this logic. But my rights continue to be violated, and we're not at that step today. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.